When I was sitting and debating tonight, did I want to do a Facebook Live video? And I tell you guys on the regular that when I do a Facebook Live video, one of the things I want to make sure is that we have very, very good content. Part of the reason is you guys with me have kind of committed to getting 1,000 shares on a nightly basis. When we do a Facebook video, we've now reached 1,000 shares on every one of our videos for 110 nights in a row. I'd love for tonight to be our 111th night in a row. But at the same time, if I'm going to give you guys a fair shot at getting to 1,000 shares on a nightly basis, I need to make sure that the video has real good content. And the last time we did a Facebook Live video last week, we talked about a cool period that was coming. It was going to arrive early this week. Obviously, it's happened. We've seen a widespread frost occur in our area last night. Not everybody saw it, but a chunk of the area did. If you didn't see a frost last night, I can assure you that by the end of this month, we are going to see it. And then moving beyond that, the weather pattern is going to change big time. And in my opinion, this is going to set the stage for more of a long period, cooler / cold to be moving into our area. It is a major, major weather pattern change. So I felt like that would make a great Facebook Live video tonight. So our goal tonight, guys, as you know, is to reach 1,000 shares. We've done it 110 nights in a row, which in itself is a remarkable feat. We've been over 1,000 shares every one of our videos for the last 110 nights, which takes us back to January. In the calendar of 2017, virtually every one of these, we've gone above 1,000 shares. It's because you guys are pretty awesome. So what I would like to do is set our goal, and I'm going to ask you guys, thumbs up. Tonight's going to be the 111th night in a row. 111 nights in a row above 1,000 shares. If you're saying we can do that easy, give me a thumbs up. Give me a love. If you think I'm asking for too much, give me the angry face across the screen. Show me, guys, whether we're going to make it to 1,000 shares the 111th night in a row. What that requires to make it easy, if everybody shares the video 3 times, and remember, multiple shares count. But if everybody shares the video 3 times, we are easily up over 1,000 shares. Seeing a lot of likes, a lot of loves flying across the screen. It feels like you guys are telling me, Mark, we're going to make it over 1,000 shares. Seeing more and more. If you guys are looking forward to the cool weather, maybe you have somebody who hunts in your family that's like, you know what? This is not the weather that I need to be outside in. If you're just one that appreciates the cooler seasons, let me see some exciting, happy faces, some likes, some loves. I know that there's definitely a group of people that the warm at this point of the year, they're not very happy. I know we have snow lovers in the area that are interested in it. So, anyways, let me give you my one last share. I'm going to try to help on the totals here. I've shared it over to WDRB News. I'm going to share this onto WDRB Weather, then I'll launch into my discussion. And I really think that you guys are going to actually enjoy this one. It is a very interesting topic, and we don't get these weather pattern shifts, these flip-flops that often, and we've got a real good one that's going to be occurring. So tonight's topic of discussion, remember guys, before we leave the shares, I won't come back to it for probably about 15 minutes. If you're new to my Facebook Live video, let me tell you the way that we go through this. What I normally do is I'll discuss my topic for about 15 minutes, and I'll give you guys about 10 minutes of Q&A time. And I know that's important because anytime we talk, Facebook Live's a two-way conversation. We've evolved into something different. And in that, I always like to give you guys about 15 minutes for questions. So at around 8:45, we'll launch into the Q&A. We'll have about 10 minutes for that, and then we'll end the video. If you guys get me above 1,000 shares before we get into the Q&A time, you won't have to hear me say anything about shares anymore. Share the video 3 times per person. It'll get us up easily over 1,000 shares, and at the end of the video, you won't hear me talking about it. So, topic of discussion tonight, a weather pattern flip. You know, there's some interesting things about this winter as we're starting to move towards it. There are deep things that resemble what we saw in 2013 and 2014, and I think you guys know as a meteorologist, it's my job to know what's happened in the past. Why do I care about 2013 or 14? Halfway through the month of October in 2013, guess what happened? We went sharply colder. We stayed marginally cool in the month of November, December, January, February. In the 13-14 winter, we went real cold. If you remember, in 2014, in January and February, we averaged 6 degrees below normal. 6 below normal. Why does that matter? Well, now, part to that winter. We saw 15 inches of snow in January and February alone. So why do I care about the winter of 2013 and 2014? The reason you should care is you guys may remember hearing in national news something referred to as the warm blob. Does anybody remember that? Thumbs up if you guys recall the warm blob. And while I do that, I'm going to look to see if I can actually find an image of what was referred to as the warm blob. I'm seeing a number of people with thumbs up across the screen. So what I'm going to do is show you the warm blob that occurred in 2013 and 2014. And what I'm going to look for is this year, because I find this a rather interesting topic of discussion. So what I'm going to do as we start this video is show you what occurred in 2013 and 2014, and then I'm going to compare it to what we see now in the North Pacific. So starting things off here, let me get the camera here. So I want to show you what the North Pacific, the northern part of the Pacific Ocean looked like in 13 and 14. And where you see reds, it means you have hot water. So you notice off the coast of Mexico, warm. Notice off California, a little cool. And you'll notice over the Gulf of Alaska and the Bering Sea, it was crazy warmer than normal. So it doesn't take a meteorologist to see this. Very warm water, Bering Sea. Very warm water, Gulf of Alaska. Warm water off the coast of Mexico. And you can see a weak La Nina that was occurring that year. So in recap, 2013, 2014, La Nina, warm blob. So let's look at what it looks like in the Pacific Ocean now. And what you can see, let me get you reference, South America, US, Alaska, Siberia. This is a La Nina. You see that? Here's Peru. Notice how you have colder than warmer waters near the equator off the coast of Peru. That is a La Nina. Next, remember in the warm blob, we had warm water off Mexico, and look what's there. Warm water off Mexico. Remember in the warm blob year, we had cool water off the coast of California. This year, we have cool water off the coast of California. Remember, during the warm blob year, we had very warm water in the Bering Sea and the Gulf of Alaska, and guess what we have again? Very warm water, North Pacific, Gulf of Alaska, and into the Siberian Sea. So we see deep similarities between what occurred in the infamous 2013-2014 winter and what we have going into this winter. And here's the interesting part. In the 2013-2014 year, guess what week it started to turn colder? The last week, the second half of October. When are we going to start turning colder in this year? The second half of October. So you have an interesting pattern that's evolving. So let's talk about our pattern flip, and we'll come back to that. What you'll notice is we have a very, 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 very high amplitude jet stream pattern. What a high amplitude jet stream pattern means is you have deep dips and huge ridges. Right now, deep dip, western part of the U.S., and it is mammoth. This has been responsible for storm systems in the northwest and windy conditions in California. What we have seen evolving in the eastern part of the U.S. is this ridge of high pressure, which is extended warm after warm after warm. It's occurred over and over and over. But what traditionally occurs in this style pattern is this low backs into where the warm water is, which is, remember, over the Gulf of Alaska into the Bering Sea. And we would expect this low to plant near the Bering Sea. What happens in that is that then pushes the warmth into the western part of the U.S., nudges the jet into northern Alaska, and then tugs that northern Alaskan air down the spine of the Rockies, and guess where it dumps it? Right into the eastern part of the U.S. Now, all that said is great. It hasn't occurred yet. Now, let's take a look at the medium range data. Ridge, eastern part of the U.S., dip, western part of the U.S. Let me give you a sneak peek as we look towards day 10. And when you look at this, You're probably saying, Mark, that literally looks like the opposite pattern of the jet we currently have. Huge dip in the eastern part of the U.S., big ridge in the west, and there is that low sitting over the Aleutians. And let's go back again to the now. It is literally the exact opposite. So what's occurring here, watch this low that backs its way into the Aleutians. And when this occurs, it starts to shove warm air into the western part of the U.S. That warm air pushes the jet stream northward. That jet stream starts to get into the northern part of Alaska, northern part of western Canada, and then you see a massive plunge of cool air starting in the eastern part of the U.S. This pattern flip likely occurs Monday into Tuesday of next week. And watch what keeps occurring. Dip after dip after dip. Now you're talking about Friday of next week. Another dip working its way in. Still a dip in the jet stream, although the data suggests as we start to move towards around Halloween, it could be moderating some. But you notice the overall pattern resembles dip in the jet stream near the Aleutians, ridging in the western part of the U.S., and predominant troughing in the eastern part of the U.S. And I can tell you guys that when this happens, it traditionally means colder than normal conditions. And let's take a look then at what the data is indicating in terms of those temperatures. And you can see as we go towards this weekend, there's this massive anomaly of warmer than normal conditions within the Ohio Valley. But once that jet stream pattern flips, and that occurs Monday into Tuesday, here comes the cold. You'll notice by Tuesday of next week, the temperatures are averaging about a mile above the ground, which is basically our thermostat. 6 degrees Celsius below normal, which is on the neighborhood of 10 Fahrenheit below normal. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, here comes the next one, Friday of next week, Saturday of next week, Sunday of next week, Monday of the following week, Tuesday of the following week, and then you can see it starts to moderate. But I can tell you guys that traditionally in the longer range, computer model data tends to get a little bit muddy. But what we're seeing is a huge signal that we go sharply colder than normal for a sustained period of time beginning on Monday of next week. Now here's the thing, is this just one computer model or are both of the computer models showing it? Great question. Let's look at the GFS computer model, and you can see as we look at the weekend, way warmer than normal conditions. As we start to move into the following week, here comes the cool, and guess where it goes? It dumps right into the Ohio Valley. This computer model by Tuesday of next week is showing average temperatures, guess what? 6 Celsius or around 10 Fahrenheit below normal. Wednesday of the next week, way below normal. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday below normal. Monday the following week below normal. Tuesday the following week below normal. And what's really interesting about this is notice we're seeing a reload occurring in Western Canada and Alaska. Now I can tell you guys something. When a pattern like this occurs in October, you recover. And the reason you recover is because we don't have the overwhelming amount of cold air in northern Canada and the North Pole. It takes time for this to start to build. And when you have a complete dump like this, normally it'll take a little time. And I'm going to tell you something. When this occurs in January, you can go with the whole month of being below normal. You can go into a sharp pattern change. And I will tell you guys something. If this had occurred in January, and I think it is legitimately possible that we will see this pattern continuing into the winter, you can get a couple of weeks of way colder than normal. And think about what I'm saying. 15 degrees below normal in fall is not bad. 15 degrees below normal in winter is a high of 25 degrees. There are some sharp similarities between the 2013-14 winter, which we saw some pretty nasty cold. And let me just put this all together, by the way, by showing you what the Climate Prediction Center has in the 6 to 10 day outlook, which includes October 23rd through October the 27th, about a 40% probability of going colder than normal. And guess what's showing up in the 25th through the 31st, which takes us into Halloween. And yes, it shows sharply below normal, a 50% probability that our temperatures go down below normal. So what we are seeing here is the data indicating that we're going to see a sharp transition to much colder. The obvious question then is when. The data indicates that that transition is going to occur likely on Monday into Tuesday. Once we go into that pattern of below normal, my opinion, it's going to last for the rest of the month of October. So, did you see a frost? Maybe you did. Maybe you haven't had to scrape yet. If you didn't, here's my opinion. Use the weekend. Bring in anything that's sensitive to a frost or a freeze. Reason? You're going to have one next week. My other opinion to this whole thing is, let me show you one little graphic I put together to kind of explain the pattern change before I go into Q&A here. What you'll notice here is, remember, low stuck in Alaska. What it's going to do is allow a low to develop by Sunday. This will blast a front across the area, and let me quantitatively speak about what we're talking about. Here are the numbers by Wednesday of next week, and I'm going to tell you something. You guys see these streamlines going from northwest to southeast? It means that this setup is going to be windy. And what it means is, unlike today, and unlike what we saw, let me get this a little bit brighter. And unlike what we saw this morning where we didn't have much wind, next week's a different animal. Next week, it will be considerably more windy, and we will see likely wind chills in the 20s next week. So this one is going to turn substantially colder as we turn towards early next week. And like I said, I think it's going to last all next week. So those that are looking for fall and cooler, here it comes. Those that aren't, you got to prepare either way. So what I would like to do is open it up to questions. Let me update you guys before we jump into that on shares. Remember, goal is to get up over 1,000 shares. If we do tonight, it'll be 111 nights in a row. I don't want to start our streak over. We've worked awfully hard for a long time to get to 1,000 shares for 111 nights in a row, 110 in a row. Tonight makes it 111. Please, guys, do me a favor. Share the video. Everybody shares the video 3 times total. We're easily up over 1,000. If you haven't shared it yet, give me 2 more shares. If you have, give me a couple shares anyways. After you guys share the video, anybody shares the video 5 times, let me know so I give you guys a shout out. And let me give you a quick recap on winter, because I know this is going to be a big one. I have not written a winter blog yet or put my winter forecast together. So I've spent a lot of time starting to look at it. My opinion is, right now as it stands, I would say colder than normal on winter. And if you had to put me to it, do I think it would be a less or more snowy winter? My sense right now is my forecast is likely going to be more snow than normal for the winter. That said, I am not to the point yet that I'm going to put out my full winter forecast. We will probably within the next 2 weeks. So I'll talk a lot more about that part of the forecast here in the next couple of weeks. But that's just generally my initial thoughts right now. So we're at 900 shares, guys. Everybody give me basically 2 more shares and we're easily up over 1,000. And let me open it up to Q&A. 5 shares from Shia. Thank you, Shia. Beth with 10 shares. Thank you, Beth. Linda's asking my thoughts on snow for the winter. I haven't put that full forecast together, like I said, but my sense right now is I feel like we're probably likely to see more snow than normal. John's saying can't wait for wind chills in the 20s. You know, I don't know what my opinion is. I can tell you that I'm ready for allergy season to be done. I think a lot of people are. I think we kind of have had a rough late year. So, you know, I'll tell you, I used to love winter. The reason I don't love it anymore is because, you know, here's my opinion. I can make a snow forecast and I can get it right for 99% of the area. But you know what happens is the 1% that I missed is going to be the guy that's on my Facebook page blasting me. And, you know, to me, it just gets old. You know, it's hard. I know when it comes to snow forecasting that there's going to be angry people and there's going to be really happy people. So it's one of those things that is, from a job perspective, is stressful. So somebody's asking, do I think there's going to be a high of 37 degrees next week? I do not. My sense right now is that we could see a high next week as cool as maybe 55, which is really chilly with some wind. So, you know, when you get 55 with a lot of clouds and you're windy, it's winter coat weather. And I think that you're probably going to need it for next week. Somebody's asking for a Halloween forecast. Understand that Halloween is 14 days away. Now, I tell you guys, and I'm very forthcoming about the fact that we can accurately forecast about 5 to 7 days into the future. Are there people that put out 2-week forecasts? Absolutely. Are they wrong? Absolutely. And you know, we don't do that because we're just not a gadget. We don't like to do that stuff. If I can't say it with a degree of accuracy, I'm not going to say it at all. And quite frankly, I just don't want to mess with your emotions. I don't want you guys to plan around something that's not real. I know that you guys are going to start to plan if I tell you something for Halloween and then, you know, let's say it's cold every day except for Halloween. Well, that doesn't really help you, does it? So, you know, 14 days into the future, there's no way to say with any accuracy. I could put it out there. I can make that forecast, but I'm not going to do a disservice to my team, my department, my station, and to you guys by giving you a forecast knowing full well it's going to be wrong. Thumbs up from Maria. Thank you. Any other questions? 4 shares from LaDonna. Thank you, LaDonna. Remember, guys, our goal tonight is to get up over 1,000 shares. If everybody shares the video 3, 4, 5 times, it's an easy one, and we won't have to talk about it. Dorothy's asking if it's going to be warmer by the weekend. It will. Enjoy it. It's probably the last one of the year, of the real warm. Becca's saying, sounds like it could be cold. Becca, it's going to turn sharply colder. Donna's saying, I do great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Mary's saying, you cannot control the weather. You can only say what you think true. But at the same time, you know what? Here's an example. Let's say I go into the doctor's office. Let's say I hurt my arm. And let's say they think it could be broken, but they're not sure. I mean, I'd rather them say, you know what, Mark, go to get an x-ray. Let's figure out exactly what's going on here. I don't want them to just, be like, hey, man, it looks like you might have broken your arm. Oh, by the way, it's probably not right, but you might have broken it. That's not going to help me. So it really, in my opinion, if you're going to say something, at least, as a professional, I do this for a living, I need to make sure that it's accurate. I really do. I just need to make sure that I'm not telling you something just because there's demands. I feel like, yeah, there's a demand for forecast for Christmas right now. Everybody wants to know is there going to be snow on Christmas? And I could put that forecast out. But I think you guys know full well it's not going to be right. So I do you guys a disservice. If I can't say it as a professional with accuracy, I'm not doing it. Nicole with 5 shares. Thank you. Shay is asking how much colder is sharply colder. So the weekend, I think we could see some 80s. Next week, I think we could see highs in the mid-50s. I think we're going to see widespread lows in the 30s, and I think we're going to probably see some wind chills dipping into the 20s. Somebody's asking why it always gets colder right as you hit daybreak. That is a great question. So the reason is you get dew on the ground. Who cares, right? Why do you care about dew on the ground? Well, here's the reason why. So when the sun comes up, you have the moisture on the ground, the dew. The sun then evaporates that moisture, okay? Evaporating the moisture, what does that have to do with anything? Here's the reason. When moisture evaporates, it pulls heat out of the air. It literally draws heat out of the air. So that dew evaporating makes things colder just after the sun rises. And that's the reason the coldest temperature of the day traditionally is just after the sun rises. That's a really good question, by the way. Somebody's saying they should plan on riding their motorcycle on Saturday, maybe one of your last days of the year. Somebody's asking, do I think we'd see ice storms this season? Honestly, there's no way to say with any degree of accuracy. There really isn't. My opinion is we would more likely see clippers in this style pattern than the major storms. The clippers are the ones that produce slightly lower amounts, but they come more frequently. So, Sharon's saying she loves how I teach a little bit about the weather. I appreciate that. Loretta's saying forecast sounds like goodbye allergies, hello arthritis. I can't argue that one. Somebody's asking about October the 28th. Tough to say that far into the future with accuracy, but my sense is colder than normal right now. How much is still up for debate here? Marita's saying Mark is a downer. Remember, guys, I'm not trying to get you guys happy about the weather. I'm not trying to get you sad. I am trying to get you excited about sciences, but at the same time, you know, I just try to tell you guys what I think is going to happen. I thought that this would be an interesting topic, and it does seem like we've got a lot of people that enjoy it. Dorothy's saying Saturday is her stepdaughter's sweet 16 party, and it's outdoors. She'll enjoy it. It'll be breezy, but it will be warmer. Kimberly's asking about fog potential in the morning. Absolutely, in particular near any water. So along the Ohio, absolutely. Russell's asking, could we see our first freeze? And here's the interesting part, Russell. The mid-level temperatures are definitely cold enough to make that happen. However, I'm not convinced that the winds are going to come down long enough. You normally need to have light winds to get the temperatures to drop far enough. So my sense right now is I'm not convinced that we're going to see a freeze next week. As far as a widespread frost, I feel pretty confident that we will see that. Barbara's saying I'm the best. Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. A question for you guys. I asked this a little bit earlier on my Facebook page. Has anybody turned the heat on in their house? I will tell you guys that every year on WDRB News at 4, Gilbert Corsi, Elizabeth Woolsey, and I always have this kind of standing little wager. You don't win anything, but you do win bragging rights for the year. And our little standing wager is who's going to be the one who's the last to turn on their heat. My house actually last night got to 70, which really, got to be honest, isn't that bad. So I am part of Team Holdout. I have not turned the heat on yet. My question for you is, have you turned the heat on? If you have turned the heat on, you guys would have been knocked out of our little wager. For me, I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to do everything I can to make it until this weekend because I know it's going to be warmer. And what I hate is turning on the heat, going back to the air conditioning, and then going back to the heat. That's always my thing, is I don't want to do that. So I'm trying real hard. Thumbs up if you guys are part of Team Holdout. Team Holdout means you have not turned the heat on yet. Becca saying I'm always the one that's cold. Jason said, nope, I haven't turned my heat on yet. Jason's part of Team Holdout. Lucy says, not yet. I love that. Melissa's saying she's turned it on and it smells like the burnt dust bunnies. That's always that smell the first time you turn on the heat of the year. Jennifer said she's not turning it on. She's wearing sweatpants. I love that answer. I feel like, you know what? We all know full well our electric bill is going to be high in the summer. It's going to be, our heating bill is going to be warm in the winter. So, you know, everybody wants a little financial break from the large bills, and I want mine. I want mine. Annalise saying she has not turned it on. I love Team Holdout. Judy saying that her condo building turned on the heat today. She wishes she was part of Team Holdout. Travis saying I have my heat set at 68, so he hasn't done it yet. Carly's 68. She's on Team Holdout. Amanda's saying she is not on Team Holdout. She's on Team Heat. She turned it on. Anita's saying only to get our grandson ready for school. Let me quickly tell you guys, remember, this is the time where I need you guys to step on the share, gas on the shares. Throw me a lot of shares, guys. Let's get ourselves up over 1,000 for the 111th night in a row. I don't want to come up short. Quickly, what I'm going to be discussing on WDRB News at 10. I think we could see some issues tonight. A, frost. B, fog. Who's most likely to see some of those issues as we go through the overnight? On WDRB News at 10. On WDRB News at 10:22. Anybody looking for warmer? I've got 81 degrees on my extended. No joke. 81. When you get to enjoy some late summer, spring-like weather at 81. On WDRB News at 10:22. And then WDRB News at 10:37. We've talked about a sharp weather pattern change that occurs early next week. I want to take a look at the latest data and give you an update on where we stand on how cold, how long, and when. And we'll talk about rain/thunderstorms with the strong front that comes across the area. Look, we go to 81, strong front turning sharply cooler. Does that mean any strong storms for the area? My analysis of that on WDRB News at 10:37. So remember, set your clocks for 10, 10:22, 10:37. I love it when you guys support me on social media. You guys are awesome, and I need you guys to support me on TV as well. That is how I make my money. That's how I make a living. So please, 10:22, and 10:37. Let me update you guys on where we stand on our shares. Remember, our goal is to get up over 1,000 shares for the 111th night in a row, and we are at, you always get a natural drum roll because it takes my Facebook a little bit of time to load, and we are at 1,434 shares. You guys are awesome, you really are. That is 111 nights, 111 nights above 1,000 shares, which is a remarkable feat. It really is. It's nothing that I can do. It's because of you guys always support me, and I love you for it. I really, really do appreciate that. I'm going to rest my voice for a little while. Remember, if you enjoy my videos, please continue to like, please continue to love, please continue to share the video, and I will see you guys on WDRB News at 10.